Is that the strategy here?
That's it. She has a playbook, and she has a very well-defined playbook, and the election is about 35 days away, and this is her nightmare scenario, right? She dropped these charges. There's a perception that she did it because you have a rich celebrity who's well-connected, and Dan Webb, the special prosecutor, a wonderful lawyer here in Chicago, was appointed to look into this and determine what should be done. He reached his conclusion. He decided to recharge, but now, Leland, the $64,000 question is why? Why did Foxx drop these charges? And that hasn't been determined yet. Now, if that pops up days before the election, she might have a point.
Well, that's an interesting question, though. It is part of Webb's investigation. We'll get to his statement in a minute. But he's recharging Smollett. Does he also have the power, the ability, or the scope to look into why the charges were dropped, and he's just waiting to drop that information, or is that off limits for him?
No, he has a very clear mandate to investigate everything, and the second part of that is why these charges were dropped. That's the big shoe that's going to drop. We don't know when, but when it does, it could be the ultimate nightmare scenario for Kim Foxx.
And when you say could be, what does he have the right to do? Can he question members of her office? Can he subpoena phone records and emails that perhaps she didn't have to turn over before?
He is operating under a state statute, kind of like Robert Mueller operated under in terms of a federal statute. So he can look at everything. He can look at emails. He can look at texts. He can interview witnesses under oath to determine what happened and why these charges were dropped.
So this has clearly become a lot bigger than Jussie Smollett. You mentioned that he poked the bear. Is this case now prosecuted by Mr. Webb against Jussie Smollett, or does this go back to Kim Foxx in her office?
Kim Foxx has been removed. She will have nothing to do with this. Daniel Webb is now calling the shots, and that's a good thing. He has a great reputation, wonderful former federal prosecutor. He'll get to the bottom of this.
All right. Smollett's defense statement basically says the same thing. This is about politics, not justice, et cetera, et cetera. What does Smollett actually face here?
He faces 6 felony disorderly conduct charges. Now, look, it's not the kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby, right? If he's convicted, he's not going to serve 5 or 10 years. But he did do real damage to the reputation of Chicago. He fed the perception. Now, think about it. Other hate crime victims that come forward, immediately their case is going to be questioned. He hurt Chicago's reputation. He caused $150,000 of taxpayer money to be spent on this frivolous investigation. And Chicago is going to get its pound of flesh.
So you have these civil lawsuits. He sued the police countersued him. Now you have the criminal case. Does the civil case get put on hold while the criminal case is adjudicated, or is he having to fight both of these battles because his rights under each one are very different?
Yeah, that's right. The civil case will get stayed. The criminal case will proceed. And this isn't a particularly complex case, so I think we will have resolution on it within a year.
So we see Smollett in probably not handcuffs, but in court when?
That's tough to say, but needless to say, this case will be rocket-docketed because of how high profile it is. It's tough to say how long it's going to last, but I would say probably within the year.
Yeah, and noteworthy to point out some of the excellent reporting done by the local television station.